Or do you go up to the bar and you meet like this woman that's like, oh, you need a new friend? No.
Welcome to another episode of
Bitches in the Kitchen. I'm Janet.
I'm Chris.
And you always do the what we're doing.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about the number one single most greatest fear ever. Who knows what the greatest fear is?
And it's not dying.
And it's not dying.
Time's up.
Tell them.
Public speaking or speaking in front of an audience.
It is the number one
Crazy.
fear. It really is.
That is crazy. Understandable though.
It is.
We've all been there.
There are a lot of people that won't put themselves in that position because of the fear.
But do you think even a master orator gets on the stage the very first time and is comfortable?
No.
It's a good question.
No, I don't think anybody is ever truly comfortable the very first time they do it, but there are people that are more natural at it than not.
The funny thing about public speaking is that we do it every single day. So whether you think that you've got the stage or a podium or an audience and a particular topic that you are speaking about, many of the interactions that you are already engaging in your world, whether it be the grocery store or the office or your boss or your mother-in-law, that's all public speaking. It's a matter of organizing your thoughts quickly, on the spot or on the fly, and being able to eloquently, succinctly, clearly communicate a thought that you want to communicate. That's the key. And so we do it all the time.
Communication has broken down so incredibly much because of that. We were forced to write notes where you at least could write a note to someone
or pick up the
phone and talk for hours on a phone. Now, so much of our communication, right down to job interviews and scheduling appointments, is done by a phone through a text message. Public speaking and forcing yourself into a situation where you're going to have to communicate with a person and also be able to learn to listen and respond appropriately is more important than it's ever been.
You know, sometimes a text and or an email is just not appropriate. Pick up the phone or make an appointment, walk into somebody's office and look them straight in the eye and tell them what it is that you want to tell them.
Janet and I both belong to a club that has been around for over 100 years that many people don't even know exist. It's called Toastmasters. The impetus behind the meaning of the word is the toast. Because there's a toast, there's a speech in a toast. And that's how the original club name came about.
The juice that sometimes what do they call this? Courage juice? What do you call this? A courageous potion? Courage potion? Full disclosure. We've switched from water to tequila. Don't tell my 4:30 client that I'm drinking tequila
at 1:48.
At 1:48. Love you.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is courage potion.
This is liquid courage. So sometimes if you are uncomfortable, not necessarily in some professional settings, but if you are a little uneasy on this, a little liquid courage goes a long way.
A little liquid courage.
Yeah,
so
not this
you don't want to be sloppy. Anyway, Toastmaster in itself is an organization that's been around over 100 years.
When Chris was interested in Toastmasters, she couldn't find a club that aligned or complemented with her perspective or vision of what she wanted the club to look like. So what does Chris do? She starts her own.
I drugged Janet along about 3 years ago. Actually, I didn't even find out until much later that it was really a cursory visit that she was giving me. She had no intention of joining.
Well, Chris became my client, and then during one of our workout sessions, you mentioned that you headed a Toastmaster group, and oh, by the way, you should come. Yeah. I'll just support her. So I went. They did introductions, at which point I had to stand up and introduce myself and say a little bit about myself. And holy shit, it had been 5 years since I had left teaching. And all of a sudden I'm in a room with 20 women? And I blah, 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 blah. So I was like, shit, I signed right up on the spot. I was like, this is a skill I never want to lose. And the rest is history. I've been a member ever since.
As we have talked about in the past, most of your friendships, relationships, they end up becoming friends because of your children. And eventually, As in our case, your kids grow up, they move away. And then you have to find new friends.
Where do you go? Up to the bar and you meet like this woman that's like, oh, you need a new friend? No.
No.
You're like, how do you meet new people?
You know, there's a meetup group for everything, like Carla's Crafting Corner or Bourbon Likers. Sorry, that's me. But that in itself requires you to have a skill set that you may not have had to use for a really long time.
Right. So there are a couple of ways to look at that. There is the speech, which is beginning, middle, and end, delivering on a topic that is very well organized. And I am standing in standing water. All of a sudden, it floods back, and I am reminiscent of our motorhoming days. And those of you who have experience in this, you know where I'm going with this. Everybody understands where that speech is going. And then there's the impromptu.
And the impromptu piece of a Toastmaster meeting in general was one of the most eye-opening experiences for me. It is terribly uncomfortable, even for people like myself that are not, it isn't my number one fear in life. I mean, everyone has nervousness, but it was never my number one fear. Table topics
is
however, is something that is incredibly beneficial and terribly uncomfortable for almost everyone. In a general sense, what a table topic is, there's a facilitator.
So I have 7 people that I'm going to call on today. Unless there's somebody that's seriously going to object, everyone can be called today. My first culprit is going to be Jerry.
And table topics, there is a facilitator. They prearrange a set of questions, if you will, surrounding a particular topic. And then you just call on an audience member. You ask them a question or a story, and they are to give a 1 to 2 minute response to that.
It is so not simple.
Correct.
It really is quite challenging.
So one of the things, like somebody could say to you, what was your fondest Christmas memory and why? Sounds easy, except when someone asks you the question, you are to stand and then deliver that response. It can be terribly uncomfortable.
Did I say the right thing? What will they think of me? Is this the right answer? Oh, you know, all that negative bullshit that runs in the back of your mind, rather than just going, yeah, I totally own this. I can either make up this story or I'm just going to deliver something. They'll never know the difference.
Many of you that follow us understand or know or remember that Drew Lynch is my son. Drew Lynch is, obviously he's a comedian. He does stand-up every day as a living. He delivers content via Facebook. He delivers content via YouTube. And the number one question that he receives, I am a person that really wants to perform on the stage. What is your last minute best advice that you can give me for success? And every response he's ever given has been the very same since that.
It's the Nike commercial.
You just do it. You're going to hate every part of it. You're going to wish you would have done it different. You're going to critique yourself out the wazoo. But the bottom line is, until you get on the stage and you do it, you got nothing to compare to. And he's a human just like the rest of us, and don't think for 1 second that he hasn't walked on a stage with a bundle of nerves just like the rest of us. But the point is, you just do it.
And the more you do, the easier it gets.
I'm not suggesting that every person has to go out and become a public speaker.
But don't think that you don't need the skill.
Correct.
Because you don't have to be a public speaker. You don't have to be a life coach. You don't have to have a stage to need the skill to succinctly answer questions and
communicate.
And deliver.
So the point is,
God forbid,
I know,
you do something for you that is inspiring to you. Do you know that that's one of the number one reasons why people move into a senior community? Socialization.
Absolutely understand
Being able to talk to people, just period, punctuate. Doesn't even matter whether they share interests. Just talk to other people.
True. I mean, true statement about me personally. I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. I am not a person that does alone very well. I enjoy the company of other people. I enjoy socialization. I enjoy sharing. And for me, it is a skill set that I have to keep up. I'm only 52 years old, and I intend to build a social circle in a way that I can stay engaged, because I feel like it's going to keep you younger longer.
You know what? I heard that.
You heard that coming, didn't you?
When you said that.
Yes, it's going to keep you younger longer. It does.
So you may or may not have enjoyed the speech that you heard me deliver, or you may or may not have been able to craft a response to the
Table topics question.
that Chris was facilitating, but give it some thought. Tell us that you want to try that, and we'll send you some prompts, because we only do this twice a month.
We do it twice a month.
We got lots of prompts for you, but stay engaged. It would be super fun. The one other thing that we didn't mention is Toastmasters is international. So there are, oh my gosh, there's clubs in every corner of the world. You don't even have to commit. Just show up.
It's true.
Sit. And if you don't like it, then leave and don't
Or
come
go
back.
to a different club, because I'll tell you this, every club has a different flavor. Every club has its own personality. If you go to one, don't completely write it off. Go to another club, because I promise you there's probably 10 in your area, unless you literally live in the Appalachian Mountains where there's nothing. No negative connotation to that whatsoever. But I mean, unless you live in a very, very, very rural area, there's going to be more than one club, and you can, I encourage you, find something. So I hope you've enjoyed our episode today. This was kind of a PSA, even though we didn't really start out for it to be, but it's kind of a little bit of a PSA. Promoting something that we're both fans of.
And if you really want to know what my speech was about, just comment below and I'll tell you. The title of the speech is Shitters Full. What do you think it was about?
I got nothing.
Comment below. Let us know what you think it was about. Good day, Gracie.
Good day.
It's not like we're bar lizards to meet new people.
Terrible.
I mean, what do you call that? Lounge lizards?
Oh my God.
That's like disgusting.
I've never gone to that.
Yeah, like where do you go? Up to the bar and you meet like this woman that's like, oh, you need a new friend? No.